The views and opinions expressed on Real Talk with Horace Sheffield are not those of WADL TV 38 or Adele Broadcasting Corporation.
Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, This is real talk, real talk, real talk. Real issues straight from the heart, Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit.
Welcome to another edition of Real Talk. I'm Reverend Sheffield down in sunny Palm Beach, Florida. Not to rub it in. And of course, my co-host looks like the sun is shining on him. Gerald W. Smith in the city of Detroit, award-winning journalist back to back, and of course, American Black Journal. And we're talking about DivDat, about a safe way to pay your bills. We have Brenda Asher. Welcome to the show, Brenda.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, let me start by the outset by saying that Dable has a DivDat device or kiosk in our building on the corner of Grand River, Wyoming, in the Sheffield Center, 12048 Grand River, the corner of Wyoming. We have tons of folks in there all day. It's extremely safe. We have a senior program, security officers, former Detroit Police Department officers. So you're absolutely safe, which leads me to, wanting to open up with this is that over the years, many of our seniors were exposed to, going to, party stores, liquor stores, grocery stores, places like that. And it wasn't always safe. Now, I'm not trying to cast a dispersion on those locations,
Right.
but many of your locations you've placed in safe locations with security and safety in mind.
Okay, so what were you saying, Reverend Sheffield? I'm sorry. I know you said about the seniors being safe in the locations where they're located. And as far as our kiosks go, we do have kiosks located throughout the city. We provide payment options as far as paying on all their bills, their taxes, their water bill. Many of the bills they can pay right there in one spot, as well as do their grocery shopping. And we have been around since 2012 with the kiosk. And it's been a great thing for us here and as well as for the community.
Sure. Gerald?
Yeah, so Brenda, welcome back. You were on our radio broadcast last week, did a great job, and glad to have you back here on Real Talk.
Thank you.
Brenda, so DivDat is nothing new to this area. It's been around over 50 years. It was known by its corporate name as Diversified Data Processing and Consulting.
Correct.
So before the kiosk came along, what did DivDat do to service the community?
Before that, they were making, did printing. They did printing of bills they did bills for DTE. They did bills for big organizations. They did mainly print jobs. And as I mentioned before, they just started over 12 years ago doing the kiosks.
So what makes DivDat distinguishable and authentic versus other vendors or business like yours that deliver similar services?
Okay, over 25% of the country's population is underbanked, unbanked, or offline. We provide services for the community to be able to get to these locations without a hassle. They can walk, they can ride their bike. They don't have to try to catch the bus. They don't have to mail it. When they make their payments at our kiosks, the payments are posted right away. They get a receipt. They can pay cash, debit, credit, personal checks. A lot of our people now, the first and the third of the month, they're there, they pay with their bank cards. And it's good for them. They appreciate the fact that they can walk right up there and do that and get a receipt. A receipt is really important, as well as your payment being posted right away. Because when you mail your payment, you have to buy a stamp. You have to wait for it to get to the post office, wait for the post office to process it, and then post to your account. You still don't get a receipt at that time, whereas we provide all that right away.
Yeah, and that's important because if you call in and something happens, you have proof of payment immediately. If you send it by mail, you're waiting on your check to clear, all that complicates and delays the amount of time, because many times, we're at that point where the payment has to be in right now or it's going to be cut off.
Exactly, exactly.
And while we talk about where there's a link on the screen right now where you can go and find out where a location is that's near you. I want to remind you again, Grand River, Wyoming. That's why we're doing this, because we've had a great relationship with them. Let's go through again what bills people can pay at the DivDot kiosk.
Okay, right now they can pay their water bill, their property taxes, parking tickets, parking, violations at 36 District Court. They can pay other cities other than Detroit,
Right.
tickets and property tax. They can pay. They've got so much on it.
I think that's mostly all of it. So it's
Right.
not just your property tax, but citations at your local district court,
Exactly.
things
Exactly.
of those nature you can also pay. And again, the method of payment is you take cash as well as
Debit.
other forms of electronic payments.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, Gerald.
In the era, Brenda, of this so-called post-COVID era, how effective has DivDat been in terms of servicing the community, whether it's residents, seniors, or just the business community in general?
Okay, it's servicing, as I mentioned before, about them being able to just go right to the kiosk, make their payments right there and get what they need right away. They didn't have to really be worried about going into a big busy place, with the COVID being as it was. They can just run in there and run out, even if they didn't want to go shopping, they run in and run out or still do the same, because we were very limited at that time. I know.
And let's speak about fees. That's important because a lot of the check cashing places, whether you pay cash or credit, they charge you per transaction. Are there any fees?
Okay, there's only a fee involved that they're paying with a debit or credit card, and that's not charged by DivDat. That's charged by the company, by the credit card.
By whoever the credit card company.
Exactly.
So that's right.
Exactly.
So yeah. So the other question I have, we got about a minute left for this segment, is there a number for people to call if they have questions about DivDat? And is that the same number they will call if someone has some concern? At my site, if something goes wrong, as you know, we call you directly and we handle that on behalf of our folks.
Exactly.
But how do people, yeah.
Okay, so we do have an 888 number on the kiosk, and that number is 888-427-9869.
One more time.
That number.
Slow it down.
I'm
One more
sorry.
time. Yep.
888-427-9869.
All right, that number's on your screen. Joe, we got time for one more question.
Yes, and in that regard, Brent, I'll be very brief. Well, let me just ask this real quick. So how many kiosks do you have in the city of Detroit?
We have, I believe, 65 in the city of Detroit, at least 65, yes.
And they're deployed in a variety of ways, businesses and government offices, et cetera, right?
Exactly. They're in business offices there, and we even got one in the print shop on the west side of Detroit. We have kiosks in the police station. We have kiosks in the jail. We've got them all over.
Got them everywhere, huh?
Yes,
So,
we do.
so the last thing I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna let the cat out the box, but we gotta go. I really appreciate how forward thinking you are. And we've had this conversation about you trying to put together a mobile kiosk to go to senior citizen sites, so they don't even have to come out the house and do that.
Exactly. Well, we are working on that. I did bring it to the attention of my staff here, and they're working on it. Because I had mentioned it a couple of years ago, but more and more it'll be really something to help. Something to help.
All right, we appreciate that, Sister Brenda. We know that you're doing the best to serve your community. We appreciate that you're not only the face, but also the person that we deal with that makes it much easier to deal with DivDat. All right, we'll be right back after this with another segment about things happening in the D with Gerald Smith and Reverend Sheffield #3. We'll be right back after this.
Join us for the Detroit Association of Black Organizations Community Empowerment Speaker Series featuring prolific voices that will enlighten and inform. Come hear amazing speakers like radio host Joe Madison, actor Hill Harper, hip-hop artist MC Search, actress Erica Alexander, the incomparable Dr. Cornel West, and much more. The series takes place monthly at the Bridge Center, located at 9928 Grand River. Please visit www.debodetroitinc.com.
Play ball, jump ball, keep your eye on the ball. Be the ball. Get the ball rolling. The ball's in your court. It's a whole new ball game. Because whatever kind of ball you like to play, you'll want to take your ball and come to your Huron-Clinton Metro Parks, where we've got golf, tennis, soccer, softball, basketball, volleyball, and that thing too. They're your Metro Parks. Come on over sometime and have a ball.
At the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department, we're working hard to protect pipes by cleaning public sewer lines to reduce flooding and speeding up the replacement of lead service lines. Protect your pipes with 3 easy tips. Pour grease into containers, toss wipes in the trash can, and check for running toilets, leaky pipes, and dripping faucets. For more tips, go to detroitmi.gov/protect pipes. DWSD, working hard to protect pipes for you.
Peace and love. I am Amore Shanae, owner of Amore Natural Way Natural Hair and Braiding Salon, located West Detroit at 13201 Grand River. We specialize in all braids, twists, and locking services. We offer complimentary wine and refreshments with service, and we can promise you a peaceful, positive, and professional experience. To book with us, give us a call and follow us on Instagram at Amore Natural Way Salon.
And of course, our guest, Dr. Barlow, the renowned person who helps people chase storm clouds from their mental skies. How you like that, Dr. Barlow?
Love it.
You know, as you know, because you know me, I'm an advocate, even as a pastor who believes in the power of prayer and faith, that people need to get a professional person.
Absolutely.
Number one, make an assessment as to whether or not it's a feeling or maybe it's something chemical at this point. But you rarely can recover on your own. And that's also true with things that happen in the mind.
Absolutely. God in prayer, God in therapy is, you know, God puts people here on earth to be his vessel, basically, to do these things that, you know, from a human standpoint, from a clinical standpoint. So they're not both of them, God and prayer.
Yeah, I actually call it Prayer Plus, so you can use that.
Okay, I will.
Prayer Plus. And the plus is that, and I use a text where he healed the man that was born blind, to him to go show himself to the priest, that even Jesus recognized that while he had the power of his Father, that it still required some intervention on earth.
Absolutely.
Some professional person who had expertise in that specific area.
Absolutely. And why not? We get help for everything else. As I often say, I wear glasses every day because I don't have 20/20 vision. You know, this is things that God puts in place for us to use to get that, to have a better life, to have better well-being, mental and physical, because there's no disconnect between the two. Absolutely.
Gerald?
Dr. Barlow, you have a panoply of experiences with respect to a relationship and conflict resolution. I mean, you just do a host of things to bring people together and resolve some real issues with respect to psychological issues. Talk to us a little bit about your experiences, and then we can kind of move this process forward.
My experiences as far as clinically?
Yes.
Okay, I offer a host of things between, you know, regular individual therapy, family therapy, group therapy, grief. I do a lot of trauma work too, a lot of different modalities with trauma work. Sometimes people are concerned about seeing a therapist or a psychologist because they don't want to be labeled. But, you know, I often say, come in, let's evaluate that. It's not about labeling, it's about getting the help that is needed. As you kind of reflecting back on, there's different ways of dealing with it. Some people are concerned because they say, well, I don't want to be on medication. To me, that's the last resort. Let's look at everything else from a holistic standpoint, instead of just going to medication, because oftentimes things can be fixed without medication, but it is there. It is a possibility, but let's try everything else first, but medication as a last resort.
So in my pastoral counseling, because I'm in the area that you practice in, not as a practitioner, but as a promoter of practitioners, have had to find ways to describe this. So I use the typology of when we have a bad winter sometimes, based on your tire tread, you can get stuck in the snow. You can spend a day trying to push that car out of the snow on your own, or you can quickly realize after a few attempts that you got to wave somebody down.
Because you need a little help.
Help you get unstuck. So we all get stuck.
Absolutely, psychologically stuck.
There you go. And so it's rare that we can do it by ourselves. I mean, I just think that's such an important thing we've got to convince people. Number one, as you said, it's not a stigma. I'm diabetic. It's a physiological thing sometimes.
And there's help available.
There you go. There you go.
So and oftentimes we're so accustomed and so used to being stuck, as you put it, that we don't see anything else but just being stuck, being in the situation. We become immune to being stuck. Yeah. So it takes somebody else to say, hey, you know what? You don't have to be stuck. Let's get unstuck.
And this is I don't mean to cut Gerald off, Gerald will be there, but here's the thing that I also find out is that many people around them know this, but there are folks in the family who say, well, you know, I've been dealing with him for years. I know how to handle him, when in reality, they're not making things better. So we eventually see things that happen to get completely out of sorts because no one is really facilitated getting them professional assistance.
And oftentimes in situations like that, that person enables that person by not making sure that they get the correct help that they need to get unstuck, as you put it. They're enabling that person instead of saying, you know what, yeah, I see it, I may be able to handle it, but there's others that may be better equipped to handle that situation.
Yeah, yeah. Gerald?
Doctor, could you give us an umbrella, the 50,000 foot view of the state of Black health in America? Black mental health in America?
It's in trouble. It's in trouble right now. We as Black people, men and women, we are always in a state of trauma, of being hyper vigilant of what may happen next. And we are the ones often that suffer, are concerned about the stigma associated with getting mental health care. So we're in trouble. Not only are we dealing with a lot more, but because of the stigma, we're not getting the help that we need when it's available. So it's a double-edged sword, for lack of better words.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm going to say, I know I've read a lot that there's been some recognition of the role that race plays. And then, people in general, I find, unlike folks that I grew up with, just don't know how to handle hardship. They don't know how to deal with life. Life is not a bed of roses. I mean, and even in the privileged environment in which I was raised, I was told that. The favorite text that explained that was Job, man that was born of a woman a few days before the trouble. So, and then I think church sometimes doesn't help it because, we ask people to come to church as if Jesus is a fictionary fairy tale figure who's gonna make everything all right. You don't do nothing but just give it to him and it's gonna be all right.
Absolutely. Instead of directing people saying, yes, give it to Jesus, but also get the help too.
Right.
Absolutely.
I was thinking that, and you both touched upon this, what is it going to take, Doctor, to educate our people in such a way whereas they will address this mistrust towards doctors seeking health care? Because, Rev, we go back to choosing healthy life, when we had the issues surrounding suicide and hypertension and this wholesale mistrust of the medical field altogether by many of our people. Absolutely. How can we turn that around? How can we turn that around, Doc?
First of all, by having forums like this, where people understand that this is not a stigma associated with it. Help is available. By having open conversations, not only in forums like this, but within our communities, in the barbershops, at the hairdressers, having conversations like that. And people who are getting the help, just speak on it, say, yeah, I see a therapist. I often say in our community, it's a stigma, but in other communities, it's a symbol of status. You know, I'm going to call my therapist. I got my therapist on speed dial. It's a symbol. So it's different. By addressing those type of stigmas is one of the keys, and letting people know in our community that is accessible to everyone. Some people are concerned about a cost associated with getting mental health care, but mental health care is something that is covered by insurances, not only commercial insurances, but Medicaid. So there are options, and even saying, okay, not only if some people have transportation issues, which is understandable, but we do offer services like telehealth, kind of like what we're doing here. So there are many different options to make it more accessible to our community that oftentimes people just don't simply know about.
Yeah. So rather than take a break, Gerald, I'm combining the two segments just so you'll know. So I you know, I have this thing about mental health, and maybe you can help me with it, is how do we, or why do we expect people who are exhibiting mental health crises or issues to diagnose themselves?
That's just, well, for lack of better words, ignorance.
Right.
Typically, when a person is in a mental health crisis, they don't have the insight to get the help to say, okay, you know what, something's going on. Oftentimes that happens, that's part of the disease process. They lack insight. And that's where it requires someone else, a loved one or a community member to say, hey, I noticed this. There is help. Let's address this. Because they do lack insight oftentimes.
Yeah, I mean, and I you know, have, as a pastor, I've had many situations where I've had to bring it to the attention of family members that something wasn't going on. And their position was, I mean, hey, if they don't know it, what can we do about it? And I just think it's kind of, I don't know if you use the word crazy to expect a person who is suffering from some mental health disease to self-diagnose themselves and then say, hey, I need to get help.
That is just not, it doesn't go one and the same because of the lack of insight. And oftentimes family members normalize that behavior, say, oh, that's just him, that's just her. They normalize it. So they're not getting the help that's needed because they think, okay, but it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not.
So I guess what I'm asking you is, does the person who is suffering from this illness know themselves that something's wrong?
Oftentimes, no, they don't.
That's
they lack that insight. Oftentimes, absolutely no, because they've normalized it within their self oftentimes and say, you know, I'm just having a bad day or this. They normalize it because they live their life oftentimes with these ailments. So it's part of them.
Yeah. That other person's their best friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like with substance abuse, which is another part of it too. Oftentimes people are so deep into substance abuse, they don't realize, okay, they lost their home, they lost their car, they lost their finances, family relations. If they still want to continuously be involved in that cycle of substance abuse, they lack the insight saying, okay, this is destructive. This is destroying your life. They don't see it.
Yes, yes.
So Doctor, on a scale of 1 to 10, just rate 3 major modalities that Black folks suffer from in terms of mental health. Could you do that?
1 to 10 are the most, what I'm seeing most prevalent.
Yes, correct.
Would be trauma, would be top of the list. And sometimes people don't even realize it. They're experiencing trauma. Trauma is high. Substance abuse, depression, and anxiety, I would say. Those are kind of the top things that I'm seeing within our community.
Where does loss fit in? You know, I've had some friends of mine who behaved in inordinate ways over the loss of a girlfriend, the loss of a job. You mentioned grief, so I'm well aware of the impact of grief because I've experienced that myself. But do those factors also sometimes cause people to slip into, you know, some kind of mental phase that needs an adjustment?
And that would fall under the guise of depression. You know, oftentimes people say grief and they think they have to lose a person, but that's not always true. It could be loss of a relationship, of a job, of a financial situation. So that's kind of all covered. Just loss of a previous lifestyle. You know, that all is under the guise of grief and depression. That kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, my granddaddy used to tell me, and Gerald's coming and said, boy, if you lose your money, don't lose your mind.
Right.
I always remember that. Gerald?
So where does one go, families go, Doctor, to seek help? I mean, there's a host of activities, some which people don't know. I know Rev has a variety of programs at DABO, Detroit Association of Black Organizations, but where do people go that seek help?
Oftentimes people word of mouth, speaking to someone else about it, but the internet is a wonderful place to seek help, to look and see exactly what you're looking for, whether you're looking for a group situation or a more individualized therapeutic setting. Internet is usually the first line. Google it. Therapist. You can even be more specific, Black therapist. You can say female or male. So it's a wonderful, Google is a wonderful way of going.
It is.
Doing such.
We're out of time, but we got to let people know how they can reach you. And first of all, tell us the services you provide again, and then how people can reach you to actually access the help that we've been talking about that they may need.
I provide a host of everything psychological. I have a whole clinic, psychological clinic here, including everything from individual therapy to mediation, divorce mediation, individual therapy. We do a lot of holistic work here, a lot of trauma, and we do also medication help too. And I can be reached at 248-438-8254.
One more time.
248-438-8254.
All right. If you want to feel better and find out how you can get better, you want to talk to Dr. Barlow. Dr. Barlow. Thank you, Dr. Barlow.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this, Gerald. We'll be right back after this brief break. Thank you.
Join us for the Detroit Association of Black Organizations Community Empowerment Speaker Series featuring prolific voices that will enlighten and inform. Come hear amazing speakers like radio host Joe Madison, actor Hill Harper, hip-hop artist MC Search, actress Erica Alexander, the incomparable Dr. Cornel West, and much more. The series takes place monthly at the Bridge Center, located at 9928 Grand River. Please visit www.dabodetroitinc.com.
Who doesn't love animals? Animals that fly, animals that swim, animals that work, animals that just kind of lay there. Big animals, small animals, cute, cuddly animals, animals that are cute in non-traditional ways. Animals you'll want to take home with you, but you can't. Because they belong here at your Huron-Clinton Metro Parks, Southeast Michigan's home for animals and the animal lovers who love them. They're your Metro Parks. Come over and make some new friends.
The Detroit Water and Sewerage Department is looking for motivated Detroiters to be a part of our team. We have opportunities for field services technicians, engineers, and customer service specialists with competitive pay and benefits. Make a real difference with the work you do every day. Join other Detroiters who are taking part protecting the pipes where we live, work, and play. Learn more and apply at detroitmi.gov/jobs. DWSD, working hard for you.
Peace and love. I am Amor Shanae, owner of A More Natural Way Natural Hair and Braiding Salon, located West Detroit at 13201 Grand River. We specialize in all braids, twists, and locking services. We offer complimentary wine and refreshments with service, and we can promise you a peaceful, positive, and professional experience. To book with us, give us a call and follow us on Instagram at A More Natural Way Salon.
Take a walk down this path through Detroit. This is real talk. Real issues straight from the heart. Giving you real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit. This is real talk.